Hey guys, so today we're going to be finishing off chapter 3, which was all about similarity and scale. Today's lesson isn't really anything new. We're just going to be applying everything that we've learned so far in order to practice some word problems. So when going over word problems with scale factors, the first thing you should always do is draw out the diagram that represents the word problem if you're not given it. And then you can choose if you want to calculate a missing side using proportions, where you like cross multiply and divide, or using the scale factor method, where you calculate the scale factor first and then multiply or divide it by a known side to find the unknown side. Sometimes you will be specifically asked for the scale factor, in which case that second method might be the easier one to do. So let's try a practice problem. It says a 153 centimeter tall man is standing next to a tree. His shadow is 214 centimeters long. The tree's shadow is 327 centimeters long. How tall is the tree? So let's sketch this out. So I've got a man who is 153 centimeters tall. His shadow, being cast by the sun. Oh, that's ugly sun. Okay, sun is 214 centimeters long. And then it says he's standing next to a tree. I'm just going to draw the tree over here just so I'm not drawing my triangles on top of each other. But the tree is there. We don't know how tall it is, but its shadow is 327 centimeters long. So the first thing that we're going to do here is just turn these into right triangles, like so. You don't really have to do that. I just find it easier to look at shapes as opposed to just lines. And then, again, you could find the scale factor and then multiply it, or cross multiply and divide. I prefer cross multiplying and dividing if we're finding an unknown side length, so I'll do that method first. But I'll also show you how to do the other method. So in this case, I'm going to set up my corresponding sides as equal to one another. So 153 corresponds with x. And then I stack numbers that are from the same shape. So I'm going to have my 214 corresponding to the 327. And then I cross multiply. So 214 times x is, of course, just 214x. That is going to be equal to 327 times 153, which is 50,031. And then, of course, we divide by 214 in order to isolate the x. And so our x value is 233.79 centimeters. And that would be our final answer. Alternatively, so the other option is to start by figuring out what our scale factor is. And we do that by taking corresponding sides where we know both the values, dividing the new shape's length by the original. So 327 divided by 214, which gives us 1.528 as our scale factor. If you are doing this method, make sure you keep lots of decimal places, or else you're going to be inaccurate when you get to your final answer. So what we're going to do next is take the corresponding side of our original, so in this case the 153, multiply it by our scale factor in order to get x. So x is just going to be 153 times 1.528, which is once again 233.79. So either way, regardless of what method you use, you should get the same answer. Okay, in this second problem, it says rectangle A is 5 by 2 centimeters. A similar rectangle is 10 by x centimeters. Determine the scale factor that relates their side lengths and the scale factor that relates their perimeters. So the first thing I'm going to do is, of course, draw this out. So this is rectangle A. It is 5 by 2 centimeters. A similar rectangle is 10 by x centimeters. And then it said determine the scale factor that relates their side lengths. So that is the first actual calculation I will be doing. My scale factor is going to be taking my new shape and dividing it by its corresponding side on the original shape. So 10 over 5 is obviously 2. Then, because we also need to find the scale factor that relates their perimeters, I need to find what their perimeters are. So the perimeter of shape A, so step 2, perimeter A, is just going to be 5 plus 5 plus 2 plus 2. Perimeter is just the distance the whole way around. You could also solve this as 2 times 5 plus 2 times 2. So anyway, 5 plus 5 is 10 plus 2 plus 2 gives us a perimeter of 14. And then before we can find the perimeter of our other shape, we need to figure out what this missing side is. So to figure out what that missing side is, we can either cross multiply and divide, or because we already have the scale factor, it's probably just going to be easier to multiply our corresponding side of 2 by the scale factor of 2 and get 4. Now that I know what my x is, I can figure out what the perimeter of shape B is. So that is going to be 2 times the side length of 4 plus 2 times the side length of 10. Again, you could do 4 plus 4 plus 10 plus 10 if you'd rather. That is going to give us 28 as our perimeter. And then the last thing it asked for was the scale factor that relates their perimeters. So in order to figure out what that is, I once again just do my new shape divided by the original, so 28 as a perimeter divided by the perimeter of 14. And I will get a scale factor of 2. And this is actually a general rule that applies to any shape that you're dealing with. The scale factor that relates the sides will always be the same as the scale factor that relates the perimeter. Okay, so if you find scale factor, it always applies to both side length and perimeter. Okay, that is it for today's lesson.